What were you doing 30 years ago? Some of you were still taking your first steps in this world full of curiosities, while others didn't even dream of being born. But this couple in the photo was making one of the most important decisions of their life, and making the first preparations to make their new home on a peculiar place. Curious to know this story? They've been living in the sewer for 30 years, and the reason will surprise you. I'm Tiago Tadeo, and welcome to the Upside Down. Before making the big decision. Moving houses is always a very difficult decision to make, especially when this is the first time you're going to live without your family. There are many things to think about and so many others to plan, right? But the important thing is to think that nothing will go wrong. For Miguel Restrepo and Maria Garcia, the situation was no different. But in order for them to finally find a corner to settle down for good, they had to hit rock bottom, and quite bottom at that, guys. Both lived in the city of Medellin, one of the best known and most important in Colombia. The place is known for having a pleasant climate and hosting the annual festival called Flower Festival, something very beautiful to see even. However, there are marks left by human action in the natural beauty of the city. These unpleasant traces were left by the drug trade, which is largely exploited in the region and leaves huge consequences for the local population. In addition to the violence that usually accompanies this illegal activity, it also draws crowds to despair, becoming drug addicts, and that's what happened to Miguel and Maria. Shortly before they met, both had already entered the world of drugs, and therefore lost everything that was important to them. They no longer had a job, a home, or even a family to return to. They lived in the streets at the mercy of the dangers they carry, and are exposed to the facts, right, of always being there, resorting to narcotics, all that stuff that was a wound that wouldn't heal. It was through this hurricane in their lives that Miguel and Maria met, and that for some reason of fate, they decided to live together. And it is at this moment that his dramatic story gave way to a rather unusual plot twist. They would live in the sewers. The beginning of the new home. It was then that 30 years ago, the couple settled in a drainage gallery on the outskirts of Medellin. The area had been abandoned and been empty for some time, and seemed to be the perfect place to hide from the dangers of the street. At least it would give them a partial roof over their heads, wouldn't it? The space that Miguel and Maria soon came to call home was essential for them to be able to fulfill their great objective: give up drugs. With nowhere to go, the sewer is the eye of the storm that, if reached, could lead anyone to, right, the bonanza. From the day they made the decision to live inside a culvert, preparations began to transform the place. Soon, they managed to get furniture for the space that is 6 square meters there, and just under 1.5 meters in height. Miguel and Maria put a bed inside the new house, some essential furniture for existence, and who knows how they even managed to install electricity inside the sewer. Inside that unattractive hole for most people, the couple started to give more value to what they had. This is a very common thought for those who have lived on the street, right? That's because they know very well what the difficulties of not having a roof over their heads are. Including as a homeless woman who gave an interview to Brazil de Fato said, "Make the most of what you have, because when you lose it, it's horrible." Miguel and Maria had already lost everything, and they were now looking to build their lives. Body adapted to the limit. You may already be wondering some things, right? Like how they managed to live in the sewer for 30 years. The answer is not simple, of course, but it can be given quite clearly. First, this place was not an actual sewer, but it served as a water outlet, the kind to prevent flooding, you know? It's not that it's a change from water to wine, but let's face it, it's much better than being in a place where all the waste of a person passed, right? The other point is that by living on the streets for so long and being on the edge of practically everything, also because of drugs, the body ends up adapting to living on the edge of what a person considers inappropriate there. In their fortress, Miguel and Maria still have situations that are much more pleasant than those of someone who is actually on the street and has nothing to cover them or a bed to lie on. That was the case of Teresa Pascali and Antonio Goncalves, who had an article written by Folha de Sao Paulo in 2005, explaining how they had lived for 4 years on an access ramp to the Tietê River, one of the most polluted places on the planet. The article highlighted that they slept and cooked 3 meters away from a colossal amount of dirty water, which not only bothers them with the smell, but would also harm their health, right? For general practitioner Alfredo Salim Halito, interviewed at the time, his body had adapted to that location. If Teresa and Antonio did it, why wouldn't Miguel and Maria do the same, right? Even after 3 decades of living in the sewer, the Colombian couple still seem to be doing very well in the latest news of them, which dates back to before the pandemic, okay? And this is due to a very surprising question. Living with dignity. What do you expect from someone living in the sewer? At the very least, to fight your survival and don't mind any luxury, right? At this specific point, Miguel surprises everyone by saying, "I feel happier than the president." And it's not because he has a place to call his own, but also because, despite all the difficulties, he tries not only to survive. Remember we said that the couple installed electricity? With that, they even managed to put a television inside their house, making the nights even more pleasant. According to some sources, Miguel and Maria still found a way to install water inside the peculiar house. It's okay the environment doesn't allow them that much, right? But let's face it, it's already getting better. However, they seek to live like normal people, even though they are avoided by many who pass and end up seeing it as a different situation than it really is. Helpless, the couple highlights only one fear: being homeless. As the place is public property, at any time, someone can go there and tell them to leave, either because they want to reactivate the water flow in the region or simply take the couple out of their house, right? However, 2 things make your thoughts calmer. One is that nothing has happened in the last 30 years. They don't think it can happen now. Another is that they have a company of a very faithful companion. Even though they don't have much, Miguel and Maria took in a puppy that they ended up naming Blackie. The animal sleeps together with the couple and guards the house when they have to go out to run errands. He is a source of joy and hope. After all the good that the couple does for Doggy can one day return double for them, right? But that's it, guys. This was the story of a couple who for 3 decades have been living in the sewer. Have you ever heard of them? What was your opinion about this? Leave it here in the comments. Oh, and now you can choose one of the 2 videos that are appearing here to keep getting informed and having fun with me. I'll wait for you there, okay? A hug, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.